as soon as people start playing games, I stop. I stop playing games. And at any moment, I can hit that yay button. Okay, not my words, not my rules. I just enforce them, all right? Swarming on everybody who dared to approach.
We're going live in about 3 minutes. Reviewing. Hold on. I just like that intro music. But we're going live in about 2 minutes. We're going to review Alex Jones recently having Nick Fuentes on the pod. Not sure how much of it we'll take a look at, but we'll get into it. Nick said it was a lively, emotional discussion. I would love to hear Alex Jones' response, because y'all know he's been seeming like he's been caping for Trump, whether it's the Epstein files and maybe some other areas. So it'll be interesting to see how Alex Jones, who definitely seems to be more so on the side of Trump than Nick Fuentes, what his thoughts are, what his perspective is on this war with Iran. So about 2 minutes and then we'll be live. All right, we got Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes. Let's see how this goes, man. Let's see how this goes. So this will be a little bit different than our typical shows. I'm not watching the entire thing and responding. We're going to just chop it up as we go. It's a live show. Come on now. We can't be just sitting here watching. We got to get interactive. So I'm expecting y'all to get interactive in the chat, and I'll do my thing, or what I can do behind this camera. All right, so let's get to it.
So Israel hits them. So we have to go to full war now.
Bubbles.
And they try to claim, oh, we're just trying to get their missiles now. No, Trump says, oh, we killed 40-something, now we're kill the rest. It's about regime change. So these are clear promises broken. This is clearly unconstitutional. Didn't get congressional authorization.
Why he's trying to persuade.
But them, it's.
I'm sorry, I just want to do that just to make sure that
we're just trying to get their missiles now. Read New York Times. This is the natural response to that.
Here we go.
Fuentes is our guest. And again, people say, this guy's pro-white, this guy's whatever. We have major universities saying no whites allowed. We have whites of the devil must be exterminated, New York Times. This is the natural response to that. So I don't want to hear a bunch of stuff. I always want to say that as a premise right up front. So Nick, you told us what was coming 2 years ago. You've been proven right. You know, you're like the new Alex Jones being right on things. So I want you to give your take on what's currently happening and then what you predict is going to come next. And is there any way to get Trump to extricate himself from this bear trap?
Well, I'll take the last question first. I think the answer is no. And I was very pessimistic about the prospect of that going into this administration. As you know, in 2024, I said that Trump is the Iran war candidate. It was inevitable that Trump would take us to war. And as a matter of fact, I think that's a large reason why he got elected in the first place. I think that if you look at the election in 2020, it was obviously stolen and rigged. And so you say, well, how did he then come back and win in 2024? Well, clearly the riggers had to stand down and let him take office. And whether that's a combination of the media, social media, electioneering, whatever you want to say, they let him win. And I think they let him win because they knew that unlike Joe Biden and unlike the Democrats, he was going to have no hesitation, no reluctance whatsoever to engage Iran and its proxies, which, of course, he then did throughout 2025 and 26. So as to whether he can extricate himself from the situation, I don't think so. I think that over and over, we see the same pattern where whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, Israel triggers a confrontation with Iran. And the United States does its best, I think, in both cases, in a Democrat or Republican administration, to mitigate the severity of the confrontation. So Joe Biden used deterrence. I believe that Donald Trump last year wanted that midnight hammer strike to be the end of the nuclear program and one tap and the war. But of course, Israel has orchestrated all of these different confrontations. They're deliberately provoking and triggering them. And I think that was the same story here. What has happened, as you said, as Marco Rubio said yesterday, is that Israel came to the United States. Netanyahu came to the White House for, I believe, the 6th time since Trump took office for the 2nd time. And he told Trump, we're going in. And you can join us or you cannot join us, but we're going to attack and your soldiers are going to be collateral damage. And so they forced our hand. And what is happening now, once again, is actually very much more of the same, which is that in the same way that in previous years, Washington and Tel Aviv actually diverge on their Iran policy. For example, Washington seeks denuclearization. Our doctrine is non-proliferation of WMDs. Our imperative is we don't want Iran to have the bomb. Israel, on the other hand, has always wanted regime change. And these are two completely different things. Israel seeks the termination not just of the Ayatollah, but of the entire Islamic revolutionary government. And so that tension has characterized the three-way diplomacy between the U.S., Israel, and Iran. This war is more of the same. I believe that Trump went in knowing that Israel was going in. And I believe the play, to the extent that there is any kind of a plan, is Trump wants the Venezuela model. I'm sure that he, and I think Vance and the others as well, they thought they would go in hard and quickly against Iran, destroy the Navy, destroy the missile production, destroy the missile launch platforms, kill some of the top brass. And the expectation is that somebody from within the Iranian Revolutionary Guard would rise up as a pragmatist and negotiate with the United States for peace. And they would maintain Iran's government structure and security architecture while being pliant or compliant with the United States.
By the way, you're not just speculating. They admit this, an insane gamble, just a crazy.
Very quickly, I'm not live on both channels, Bubbles, just live on this one. Just went on this one for this stream. I'm just trying something out. But Nick is different, bro. How he just broke that down, like, aside from all that, but he's spot on with everything that he just said. And I want to ask y'all, do y'all think that this is just something based on Israel? Like, do you think that we would even have this issue, that we would even have this problem with Iran if it wasn't for Israel? And almost the question, I guess, the follow-up is, would Iran even be seeking a nuclear weapon the way that they're seeking one, perhaps, or having these, or the need to have a lot of these missiles if it wasn't for Israel? And the fact that we're allowing Israel to dictate our policy, to dictate moves that are going to put our troops, to put our people at risk, not even our troops, but our Americans in other countries, our Americans in Dubai, our Americans in various areas, and who knows where this is going to go to. So that's kind of the question that's always on my mind. Like, why are we even allowing Israel to dictate this? Israel keeps putting themselves in positions where it's like they're trying to create as many anti-Semites as possible. It's like, how far can you push people to the point where people just like, you know what, man, forget all of them. And I think that's where a lot of Americans are. But let me get back to the video because I don't want to. I got to keep the main thing. My apologies. Let's get back to it.
Shot in the dark gamble.
Yes, and that is the correct word. It's a gamble. That is totally a roll of the dice, whether that will happen. We just don't know that. We don't know who that might be, if that will happen. Now, further, this is why this is the ongoing divergence in Washington-Tel Aviv policy. That's not going to be enough for Israel. Even if that was possible, let's say in your revolutionary, zealot, Shiite, theocratic government, you get a faction from the IRGC that wants to negotiate with Washington after they killed the Ayatollah and half the leadership and blew up the country. Even if that happens, will this satisfy Israel? The answer is no. Because what Israel is seeking is a total regime change. They want to install a liberal democratic government, maybe led by the Shah, or at least a transition led by the Shah. And why? So that they can manipulate the future state of Iran, as they did in Syria, as they did in Iraq, as they did in these other countries.
And that was my point from Saturday on, is you can look at this one-dimensionally, yeah, Muslims are bad, but the British and the U.S. and Israel always put worse people in, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda in charge of Syria. The idea that oh, the West is this fairy godmother creating My Little Pony heavens is bullshit.
Well, that's totally true. And not only that, but I think it's likely at this point that a hardliner regime takes power, because who's going to be left after these people watch their leaders get killed and their colleagues and their own countrymen get killed? I don't think they become more compliant. And it's a country of 90 million people. They have 1 million soldiers between all the security services. I don't know that they're just going to lay down and beg for mercy at this point. Why would they?
Americans, even a pussified Americans wouldn't do that. The Vietnamese they're not going to lay down. They're going to get more aggressive.
They will, and that plays into Israel's hands, because then what this does is it basically reignites the pretext for war. So, the language in the Trump admin is escalation. We're going to bomb them even harder. We're not ruling out boots on the ground. It can always get worse. And so maybe you get a ceasefire, a new regime comes to power, they don't surrender, and then we have to come up with a more permanent solution. And this is where now the U.S. is talking to the Kurds and talking about the Kurds maybe potentially being a ground force.
Now they're talking about breaking
militias.
Iran up, which is the Israeli plan to break up every country there.
Right, as they did in Iraq, as they did in Syria. That's the textbook Israeli grand strategy. So yes, and that's the thing. You never see the end of the Iran war. It's always, this is just the latest climax. This is just the latest ceiling of hostilities between the U.S., Iran, and Israel, which have been ongoing for decades. And I don't think this is the end of it. So,
all right. So I got a quick question for y'all, and I got this theory that just came to me maybe a couple hours ago that I want to run by y'all. So I'm always trying to look at it from a business standpoint and follow the money. And we have to understand that these countries, Donald Trump, he's the CEO of a big company, the United States of America. So I almost look at it where it's like you have a company that's bleeding a lot of money, right? And the economy doesn't seem like it's going to get any better. So it's almost as if, are the oligarchs that control America, are they trying to almost like sell off America in order to build something better in Israel, to where they can get in on the ground floor or get a better investment? You see, I'm just looking at it from a business standpoint, because I just don't understand how we just continuously drain our resources in order to uplift another business. And if this was just looking at it from a business perspective, and we had business A, which is, hey, they're just going to spend a lot of money, whatever. We don't care. We'll file bankruptcy, or we'll just sell it off for whatever it is worth. And then we're going to use this company B. We got to make sure this is profitable. It's in a region with perhaps more natural resources. And if we can control this region, this company can become much more valuable based on, let's say, all the oil that goes through through that region that Iran currently controls. So I'm almost looking at it from this standpoint, where it's like, okay, maybe we're looking at this the wrong way, where we're looking at it as Israel and America as separate countries. Maybe we should be looking at them as, hey, maybe the same people that own Israel, the business of Israel, own the business of America. Or perhaps the people that own America are doing whatever they can to uplift Israel as a business in order to buy in and get some type of ownership. You get what I'm saying? Maybe this is what they're providing as far as skin in the game when it comes to building up Israel, because I just don't understand how we can look at what's going on in America. We're how many $1 trillion in debt? We don't have the resources to even deal with the things that are going on in America. We don't have the resources to deal from even an infrastructure standpoint with all these millions of migrants that come in here. And we could look at it in a separate, I guess we could look at it separately, like, oh, the Democrats want them here, the Republicans don't want him here. But then when we take a step back and realize that both the Democrats and Republicans work for the same groups, these migrants wouldn't be here if they didn't serve both groups. Because what have Democrats and Republicans been responsible for? Both bringing in migrants, right? Both bringing in migrants. Even though Trump ran on deporting them, he hasn't deported them. Now he changed his tune, wants them to come in, H-1B visas. He's talking about Americans don't have the skill set and they don't want to develop them, I guess. So therefore, they want to just bring people in. And it's like, yo, they are just completely selling out America, but perhaps they're selling out America in order to buy into Israel. I'm just trying to figure it out because it just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. But let's keep going.
I don't know that
I
I'd
totally
be surprised.
agree. Do you think Trump even, I'm not trying to give him a get out of jail free card, but I actually know what your answer is. I know you're smart. Do you think Trump even understands this? And the answer is no.
No, I don't think so. And I think he just overestimates his abilities. I'm sure that in part, maybe they did Venezuela to build up his confidence, because Venezuela is a totally different story. 28 million people. The regime's not loyal.
They did the limited bombing thing and let him negotiate and have Israel stand down. They did that thing last year, I said, to get his confidence up with Iran.
You did say that. I remember I was down there and you said exactly that. And I think that is quite literally the play, which is you get that momentum, you get that inertia. And I'm sure they told him that this would create a deterrent effect. You do it to Venezuela, you can bring the force to Iran and say, hey,
let's remember, they got
what we did
top
to this guy.
psychologists, the really good ones, are studying Trump. I mean, they're pitching him bullshit, seeing what works, going back. I mean, it's disgusting.
It is, and they manipulate him. You know, people say it's blackmail. People say they got a tape of him. I don't think it's that complicated. I think that they surround him, they saturate his information diet, and and they form his opinions. They create the options. And the question is, where's the personnel? Where's Tulsi Gabbard? Isn't she the DNI? Where is she? Where's Vance? Where's Rubio? These are all supposed to be America First people that we were supposed to be excited about in the cabinet. And what we find from the Times is that not even a single one of them told Trump not to do it. And these were all ostensibly supposed to be against the endless wars, the Middle Eastern conflicts.
By the way, I didn't think you were wrong 2 years ago when you predicted this, or last year when you said it was, I hoped we could avert this. But clearly now, if you follow Trump's psychology, I think he just doubles down. So where does that go?
So I think that it will end in regime change one way or another. What happens imminently is sort of unpredictable. It's hard to imagine how exactly the Iranians respond and what the Trump administration has up its sleeves in terms of escalation. But I think that Israel, clearly they're driving the policy. They've orchestrated all of these events. They're not letting go until there's a regime change. And what Israel wants, they get. So I think that before the 4 years are up, you're going to see a full-scale regime change. And for that to happen, there's going to need to be a ground presence. Maybe that's partial U.S., partially it's militia or it's Kurds. I believe that is what was driving the protests even a month ago. It was all in the western half of the country, in the Kurdish part. And they said that these were people clad in black and they had automatic weapons and they appeared to be trained. So I imagine it's going to be some kind of smart power, multi-domain operation with the militias armed, maybe from Iraqi Kurdistan, which shares the border, and maybe from Turkey. And I think there's going to be some kind of force that comes in and forces a transition. I think that's, when you work out the math on that, I think that's all but inevitable. And it seems unlikely now, but it seemed unlikely that we'd be here. It seemed unlikely we'd be bombing Iran into submission or that we'd bomb their nuclear program a year ago. It just keeps escally in that direction.
You predicted it, because I watch your show. I watch clips almost every day, but whenever I can, I watch, when I work out, hours of it, every few days. You literally, it was uncanny. I remember laid all this out 2 years ago. How did you know that? You just knew their policy?
They said it. They said it openly. I appreciate you saying that. And it is true. I did predict it almost to the letter, but they were basically saying this in October 2023. Right after the October 7th attacks, the Israelis all came out and they said, this is going to be a regional war. We're going to destroy all the proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, and then we're going to cut the head off the snake. They said, we're going to reset the international relations in the region that has prevailed for 50 years. And I think what they meant by that is this Islamic crescent headed by Iran, which was only the latest one after the Baathists, after the Arab coalition between Syria and Egypt. So I think that if you're really paying attention, even to the rhetoric from Trump, everybody forgets that the Israelis were whispering in Trump's ear that Iran was trying to assassinate him. Why do you think they did that? It's because they were already laying the groundwork. That was their pre-programming to sabotage that relationship so that they could tell him when he becomes president, hey, remember, they did try to kill you. And that was always meant to spoil diplomacy between the two countries.
Sure, let me ask you.
I always hear Mark Levin saying this and a whole bunch of other neocon conservative, these Zionist pro-Israel types. Y'all know who they are. But they always say that Iran tried to assassinate President Trump. And to my understanding, y'all tell me if y'all have heard anything differently. Iran has never taken credit for that. And they've never produced any like evidence as to Iran being the person that's behind Thomas Crooks and the other guy that's hiding in the woods at the golf course. So I don't even know who they're referring to. But let's keep it moving.
This question then, why do the Israelis for 5 years wear on a lot of their uniforms the Greater Israel map?
Yes.
Why do they admit it in their newspapers, then attack us and censor us when we say it, and then have dozens of articles a day, I can't even keep track of them, saying, we run America, we're the new superpower, we're going to take out Turkey, we're going to take out our allies through Obama. They took out and put the Muslim Brotherhood in. They created Hamas. I mean, we're sitting here watching, and it's not just Netanyahu, it's the other main party and their last prime minister saying we're going to get Turkey and others next. I mean, and then they think we're going to go to war now with Turkey, the biggest conventional military in Europe. I mean, it's like there's this giant buffet, and Israel's like a 1,000-pound fat person that wants us to sit there and hand feed all this at our expense. I mean, this is just megalomaniac. So I know Israel's smart in an evil way, but why do they brag? And I guess to enrage everybody else that's awake, because that just adds to the furor. Or what's going on here?
I think that is a deliberate provocation. I think that, part of their entire MO is they actually need the conflict. They feed on the conflict. All of this was the result from October 7th. And after all, what was October 7th? Well, they called it the Al-Aqsa flood operation. What is Al-Aqsa? That is the mosque. That's the Temple Mount. That's the Dome on the Rock, which is in Jerusalem, which is the center really of the occupied territory dispute. That the Palestinians claim East Jerusalem as the capital, and they claim that's their third holiest mosque in Islam. And what the Jews did in Israel that precipitated the October 7th attack is they had all of these Jews go to the Dome on the Rock, go to the mosque in Jerusalem, to the Al-Aqsa compound, and they started doing their religious rites in a very provocative way. And actually, that was the precipitating cause.
And killing the red heifer.
Yes, finding the red heifer, the unblemished heifer and everything. And it was deliberately intended to provoke the Muslims into a response. And I think that the stuff about Greater Israel, the goal is the same. It is to provoke these countries into conflict, because ultimately that is the way they're going to achieve their goals, is to elicit hostility. And then that's the pretext to bring in the United States to fight their wars for them. And I think that's the playbook from day one. So that is all part of it. Telegraphing that, signaling that's all part of the sick agenda.
Did y'all see what he just put on the screen as far as with Trump cutting off? I don't know if you saw this. Trump cuts off all trade with Spain after far-left Spanish government refuses to let America use bases in their country to strike Iran. Yo. Why are we creating? They keep saying Israel's the size of New Jersey. Why are we creating a world war for it then? Like, why are we doing this? This is about to get ugly. And mark my words, and this is something that I hope doesn't happen. But with what's going on this summer with the World Cup coming to different places. I know it's going to be in New York. I know it's going to be or Jersey, really, Jersey, and Miami and Florida. But they are trying to provoke this. They are trying to provoke this. And I can't, it's like in the back of my head, I always hear Bill Gates talking about depopulation. Perhaps they didn't get the job done that they were looking for in 2020. And this is the play that they're looking for to lower the population. I just don't understand how you can justify us creating a world war because of what? Because of what? Because that's what Israel wants. And Israel, it's like Nick said, what Israel wants, Israel gets, or America goes and gets it for them. Let's keep going.
Sadly.
No, I agree. So let's unpack this and how do we stop it? How do we stop it? We'll be right back with Nick Fuentes. Stay with us here to live feeds now. You know, people ask, who do I have on as guests on a routine basis? Whether they're economists, whether they're strategy people, security people, journalists, it's who is the most accurate. It's a really easy rule. I want to be accurate. I want to be smart. I want to be informed. The more knowledge I get, the more I want factoids. The more I want to, it all interconnects. And then I really disdain on the left, right, anything, people that just pick up talking points and act like they know something. And what's frustrating is 90% of these so-called journalists and influencers, literally, you talk to them in person, they don't know anything. They say they're like deer in the headlights. My callers are infinitely more knowledgeable because, you know, they're tuned in here. They probably were smart before they tuned in. That's why they look for something else smart. Bird of a feather flock together. But it's not about tooting our horns. It's about saying we need to save civilization and humanity. Nick Fuentes, you can disagree with his conclusions or what he thinks should be done sometimes, but you can't disagree with his analysis and the fact that he goes up against top geopolitical, you know, White House advisors with 5 degrees and kicks their ass. So respect needs to be due. But also, it's not just the globals we're fighting. It's the low IQ people that we've woken up who are more like in high school and they want to, in a hierarchy, say, you know, everybody's a globalist but them. It's something that the Israelis and the other lobbies feed with bots to make us fight with each other so we don't recognize the organic leaders that God has given us to lead us out of this. So I want to just say that right up front, that I respect Nick Fuentes because he knows what he's talking about. I can disagree on the final product of thousands of points that go together or say maybe this is better, and sometimes he's right more than I am. The difference is he knows what he's talking about. And I am sick and tired of having to debate low-grade morons that don't even know how to find their ass with both hands. So, Nick, let me throw this out at you because we got a lot of time here, and I appreciate it. But I want you to quantify before we go to these clips and unpack this and what you think's coming next, what you predict next, how we can stop this, which you already said we can't, which we still got to try. I think you're right. I'm about to evacuate to South America or something. That's where all the globalists are going. But here's my question. Looking at all of this, is there, and I want you to think about this. I know you already said no. What could we do? A peaceful demonstration? I don't know, hang something on our doorway, or liberals would say mass strike. I don't want to join them in that because then you're allied with Islam. Is there any way to get Trump off this destructive course we're on? And then maybe describe to people, because you predicted the future, where this course takes us. Nick Fuentes.
Well, as I said, I'm very pessimistic about that. And the reason being is because when you look at the numbers, it's not popular. You know, they did all the polls this weekend. You got Washington Post, Reuters. I think there's a few others. And the approval rating for the conflict is sitting at about 30%, right around 30%, maybe just under that. And Trump has to know this is an utter betrayal of his campaign promise of no new wars, and he's the peace president and so on. So as far as a massive demonstration, what is that supposed to demonstrate? That the war is unpopular? They know the war is unpopular. Is that supposed to demonstrate that we're dissatisfied? They know we're dissatisfied. And I think that gets back to the nature of it, which is that it is a gamble. And I think that Trump is counting on the fact, well, let's actually be honest for a moment here about it. Trump is counting on the fact or the possibility that this works, that this little gambit pays off. And we bomb Iran a lot for a week. It's quick and it's hard, and then we leave and we get what we want, and there's minimal loss of life. If it is successful, I think people on our side may even be underestimating the appetite for something like that among the general public. If it's a big victory, or if they're able to plausibly claim victory, it may even be popular. And so I think Trump is actually okay with this. I think that Trump, the way he sees it, because he said this the other day, he said, I don't care about approval ratings. He said, and I'll put boots on the ground. I don't care. Now, obviously he cares on some level, but I think in his mind, this is all
yeah, he better care about a bunch of dead troops. I mean, you talk about, we're talking, it'll make Vietnam numbers look tame.
Well, it depends on what they do. If it's a full-scale invasion, you're absolutely right, because they will try to inflict maximum casualties, and it will get ugly. It will be like Iraq.
There's obviously already special forces there before this happened. I'm talking about a real invasion to, quote, secure the Strait of Hormuz or whatever. That's how they'll start it. It's a disaster.
Right. Yeah. And I agree. And I think that, on some level, he obviously cares about these things, but this is part of the bluff. This is part of the gambit, which is, partially, I think some of the things he's saying is meant to signal to the Iranians that things could get worse. If the outcome that you desire is for a pragmatic faction to take power and negotiate with the United States, well, to persuade them that that is the logical course, you would actually need to convince them that things could get worse.
And that's why they just had the council meeting to elect a new mullah who didn't want peace right now. They just killed them today. So he's hoping like maybe the next group's less radical. But as you said on your show a few days ago, and it's true, as you go down the chain, they get more radical and stupider.
Yes, and that is why he's trying to persuade them that it could always get worse. I'm sure in their mind, in Trump's mind, he's thinking that these Iranians expect that maybe they could ride out the storm. If they could survive, if they could hide out in shelters, then maybe there's going to be some continuity of government. And Trump is trying to persuade them that if they don't capitulate, it could get worse. The bottom could continue to fall out from under them.
And by the way,
what they really don't want.
Influence farmers will say you just endorsed Trump. No, when you war game what he's thinking, you're not endorsing that.
Right. No, we're purely speculating about his state of mind and what his approach is. And so I think
you
that
see the clips of you where they take you wargaming and say that's the same thing to me. That's what they do. I just want to get that out there.
They always. Yeah, well, and I consider those people to be third worldists because they're really arguing for Iran in and of itself, or Venezuela in and of itself, or China. And me, I look at Iran not as a great country. I mean, they're a Muslim theocracy, but I look at them as a country that, one, they're a sovereign state. So I don't think we have business going in and killing their leader.
And potential to destroy us and bring down the economy. So.
Right. And I would go further than that. They balance Israel. There's a balance between Iran and Israel. I don't know that that's the worst thing in the world, because if you have two very powerful
Israel
states,
needs
Yeah, what Alex Jones is getting ready to say, they need to be balanced. Things have gotten out of control and they've been out of control. I shouldn't even say they've gotten out of control. They've been out of control, but we continue to allow Israel to just bully everybody in the region and do it wearing our jersey. It's like, oh yeah, that's our big homie. That's our big homie. It's like somebody that does dirt in your neighborhood, but they do it going around saying like, oh yeah, I'm with such and such. Like, bro, they're putting so much dirt on our name, creating so many enemies for us that we would not have. And that's an excellent point that Nick brings up when it comes to balancing. We're not even looking at it from that standpoint. We kind of addressed the fact that if I was Iran, yeah, damn right, I want a nuclear weapon. But we haven't even addressed the fact that Israel, they remain and they keep this ambiguity when it comes to them having these nuclear weapons, because it allows them to get around a whole bunch of rules, and it perhaps allows us to get around a whole bunch of rules, because we're not even legally allowed to support somebody that has these nuclear weapons who's not a part of the NPT. So it's if they're not a part of this nuclear proliferation, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, treaty, then we're not even allowed to help them when it comes to war. We're not allowed to give them aid, but we continuously do. Israel needs to be balanced because they're bugging. And once again, it's not they'll look at it as an attack on Israel. Nah, like, y'all are just bugging. If y'all are our special friend and special ally, you're supposed to tell your friends when they're bugging, and Israel is bugging right now. And like Bubble said, our government keeps putting up with this, which makes me just think, if our government is allowing this, And we know that our government, they're not the real decision makers. We know that there's people that have a whole bunch of money, whole bunch of power that runs that run our government. It is what it is. Well, I don't need the Epstein files to come out to know this. So if that's the case, why are our big homies in America allowing the Israeli big homies to just continuously bully us like that? It seems like there's a bigger play to all this. It seems like they want to control that particular region because it's simply, maybe, I don't know, y'all tell me, it's just more valuable. It's more valuable than America. The real estate in that region is more valuable than the real estate here. And to continue being a world power, we already know that America, we've given out all our manufacturing. We import more than we export. We're just the biggest buyers. We're not the biggest sellers. And anybody that understands economy, you know that the seller has more power than the buyer. The seller has the seller is the one that's creating the products, that's creating and stimulating their economy. We just buy and then have to bring everything in from out the country. So which business is more valuable? Which business has the higher ceiling? Seems like Israel does. So I would rather sell America and buy Israel. If even if, regardless of how you feel about Israel, maybe you can't stand Israel. If you were just looking at this from a business standpoint, who would you invest in? America or Israel? Would you bank on Israel becoming greater and bigger, or would you bank on America becoming greater and bigger? I would bet on America based on all of these problems that we keep getting into with Israel because we're alongside them. I would probably bet my money that America will continue falling, continue to go into more and more debt, continue to rely on everybody else outside the country, not doing anything in America, which America was built on, manufacturing, factories, all these different things. America's moving in the opposite direction. Israel's going up, America's going down. Which would you invest in? Let's keep it moving.
To be contained. Now that, why are they now publicly admitting everywhere? I'm sure you've seen it, that yeah, we're taking everything, including their allies. Like it'd be like if my neighbor said, yeah, I just went over and screwed my neighbor's wife and your wife's next.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's a provocation. It's intended to be provocative. They actually do not want peace in the region, and all of this is based on fueling this ongoing conflict. They don't want it.
Same reason they stood down on October 7th. Same reason they founded Hamas.
Yes, and Americans are under the impression that we're desperate to make a deal, and there's this peace that is just always elusive, always out of reach. If only the Muslims would just relax. But it takes two to tango here. The Israelis, they are the ones that actually want the conflict. They didn't want to deal with Iran. If they get a deal with Iran, that they don't get to topple the Iranian regime. If Iran gets a deal with the United States, maybe they give up their nukes on some timeline, but they also get to normalize their trade relations and diplomatic relations with all the countries in the region.
Israel wants to keep it in no man's land and keep them in the timeout box.
Yes, they want to maintain that kind of operational control like they had in Syria, where they can control the airspace and they can just drop bombs, and then they could ultimately control the outcome in that country and make it significantly weaker. So that's the sick logic of Israel's grand strategy.
We have a full sales job now by Netanyahu, Trump, and now Vance. We have the clips that it may last a little while, a long time, it may last forever. We're being sold on a forever war right now. Here's my problem. I don't want the Democrats opening the border. I like Trump killing the carbon tax. I like the no tax on tips. There's all this good stuff, but rapidly, I can ignore some stuff and hold my nose with Trump, but quickly, by the hour, I morally cannot be part of this. You're already there saying vote Democrat. I get you're saying that as a carrot and the stick, but what the hell's going on here?
Alex Jones. Trump's doing all these great things. He stopped people from coming in the border, even though he didn't deport anybody, based on the numbers that they were acting like they were getting ready to deport. And he did no tax on tips. Like you really brought up no tax on tips, bro. Trump has done so much, and no tax on tips. He stopped the border, stopped people from coming into the border, and didn't have no tax on tips. What about everything else? Like Alex Jones clearly wants to, and this is why perhaps he looks a little bit more frustrated, more red than Nick, because he's looking for a reason to support Trump. He wants to support Trump. He's trying his hardest. He's been trying his hardest to justify the Epstein files in whatever way he deems it appropriate. So therefore he can align himself still with the Trump organization. I don't know what it is. Maybe he wants to keep visiting the White House, could do a good relationship with Donald Trump, and perhaps if he believes JD Vance is going to win in the next term, maybe Alex Jones is just doing whatever he can to make sure that Republicans remain in office for the following term. So that way he'll have the access that he gets, because I doubt he will get any of that if a Democrat is elected. So it just seems like bro, you're reaching. Anytime you got to bring up Trump's biggest accomplishments and you're talking about no tax on tips, like I get it, but I don't know if that's like one of the main things that we were all voting for Donald Trump on. Was it a good side thing if he accomplished all the other things? Absolutely. But for that to be, yeah, what did Trump do? Oh yeah, he stopped the border and no tax on tips. It's like, yeah, that doesn't hold as much weight as perhaps he believes it does.
I think you have to. I think you have to vote Democrat in 26, and I'll tell you why. I mean, we're being told always that the Republicans are the lesser of two evils, that they're going to be marginally better than the Democrats. Look at all of the broken promises. Epstein files, that's huge. It's huge. And let's be honest, they tried to cover it up. It's not like they fumbled that. It's not like they made a mistake. They engaged in an active cover-up, and they failed only because of a revolt within their own party. And now Marjorie Greene is an outcast. She was like the MAGA congresswoman. She was like the one in Congress who came after Trump won the election. She's an outcast because she led the coup to get the Epstein files released. That's a big one. Then you got the deportations. They haven't started on the border wall. And even though they secured the border, look, they secured the border in 2020. What good did that do when Joe Biden came into power? Nothing, because then he just overturned all the executive orders and they came pouring in. That's why you need the wall. They haven't started it. 230,000 deportations. It isn't happening. And now we're in a regime change war with Iran. You've been around. I've been around not as long as you, but for some time. Regime change in Iran is like synonymous with the neocons' ultimate master plan. That is like the number one thing on Israel's wish list.
On the crown. It was the whole Middle East strategy and the Rebuilding America's Defenses PNAC plan 2020 or 2000 was this.
Yes, and even further than that, going back to clean break in 96, this has always been the plan. And for a time, we thought that was unthinkable. We thought that Trump winning made that impossible. So for Trump to be the one to take us there and sell it and push it and trigger it, and now we're in a regime change war with Iran, it's almost unbelievable to even say that. Thousands of American and Israeli airstrikes destroying Iran's military. Here's how I feel about it. If you will tolerate that, you will tolerate anything. At what point do you say no? At what point do you say there's no excuses? People say, well, if there's boots on the ground, dude, they're dropping bombs everywhere. And it's in Iran. So for me, I said, that's the last straw. I'm out. And you know me, I'm the furthest thing from a Democrat. I'm far right. I'm not left wing or even liberal. I don't consider myself even a center liberal or a right liberal.
Let's talk about that. Democrats get in. Isn't that an accelerationist?
No, I think that I don't know that I would characterize it as accelerationist. I would characterize it as corrective. And it's sending a message to the GOP before the big one, which is 28.
Yeah, you're saying the only leverage we've got is the wake-up call.
Right. And, 28, we got to win that one. I really believe a Republican's got to win. But we need it to be the right Republican. And I don't know that there's any other language they will understand other than to show them we're not showing up in 26. And what's more, I also think that Vance and Rubio are to blame in this as well. If they couldn't stop a war in Iran when they're in power now, how are they going to make the decision when they become the president?
We knew Rubio's a deep state guy. He's been, quote, doing a good job for what we wanted till now. But Vance was an open thing. He's come out now and said we may be there in a long war. So Vance is definitely getting in line with that. In fact, speaking of the devil, let's go to those clips first. Here's Thune, the leader of the Senate, saying Trump doesn't need a war powers. He has authorization, which no, he doesn't. This is pure war, folks. This is not blow up their weapons. This is regime change. And then Vance saying the same thing and then saying basically this could be a forever war. And then I want to go through these other clips, but here it is.
Do you think the Congress would need to authorize any military action against Iran beyond the 60-day or 90-day window?
No. I think the president has the authority that he needs to conduct the activities, the operations that are currently underway there. And as you know, there's a lot of controversy around questions around the War Powers Act, but I think the president is acting in the best interest of the nation and our national security interests by ensuring that he's protecting Americans and American bases and installations in that region, as well as those of our allies.
We'll go back and you can get Nick Fuentes' take on this, but Marco Rubio yesterday. Israel launched the attack. They were going to attack us. We had to attack them because they would attack us if we attacked them. Thune just said, we attacked them, so they're going to attack us, so now we have to authorize the war. So we attack somebody, so the president doesn't have a War Powers Act because he has the power to attack somebody. I mean, this is insane. Continue.
The United States has a lot of optionality here. And, you know, we could go for a little bit longer. We could go for a lot longer. But I think the president just wants to make it clear to the Iranians and to the world that he is not going to rest until he accomplishes that all-important objective of ensuring that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, not just for the next few years, not just because we obliterated Fordow or some other enrichment facility, but because the Iranians themselves commit long-term to not building a nuclear weapon.
So we've gone from, oh, we successfully destroyed their nuclear stuff, which I said was BS, to now total war. Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, they said last year that the program was completely obliterated. And, you know, we've almost even talked past the point. It's sort of interesting. Last year, the pretext for bombing Iran in the first place was that they were racing towards a nuclear bomb. When Israel hit Iran on June 13, 25, they said, well, Iran was going to strike us, and they were racing towards a device. That's why we had to preempt that by striking them. And then, of course, the U.S. intervened to finish the job at Fordow and Natanz, which only we could do with the bunker busters from the B-2 bombers. Well, then, in January, when these protests started in Iran, all of a sudden that shifted. And Trump came out and said, well, we were going to attack Iran, but we couldn't topple the regime in one blow. And you say, well, wait a second. I thought Israel and the United States attacked Iran last year because they were on their way to a nuke, but then we took care of it and we blew up their program. Now they're saying, well, we couldn't bomb Iran at our discretion in January because it wasn't going to topple the regime. And you say, topple the regime? I thought it was about the nuclear program. And like you say, now we're in it. Now we're in a full-fledged regime change war. And you wonder, who made this decision exactly? Who voted for this? Why is this happening? Arguably, it is within, I think, America's interest to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. And if they're about to imminently acquire them, a case could be made. I don't know that I would make it, but in a theoretical, a case could be made that the United States might preempt that by intervening in Iran.
The point is they've abandoned that cover story. And Trump says, oh, we killed 40-something, now we'll kill the rest. It's all about regime change now, which under the law is illegal to preemptively attack somebody saying, I want regime change. So Trump's being set up here with major impeachment charges.
Well, and they're throwing everything out there. It's the dead protesters. It's the nuclear program. It's the missiles. It's just like Iraq. It's exactly like Iraq. Oh, they're building a nuke, but also they did the anthrax plot, also 9/11. They just throw everything out there in the hopes that enough people are going to buy it. And like you said, there's nothing legal about this. What is the authorization for the use of force against Iran? Did Congress declare war? At what point was this decision made and exactly by whom? So I don't know that this is impeachable because ironically, the Democrats support it too. Chuck Schumer came out of the closed door hearing with Marco Rubio at the State of the Union or the afternoon of and said, well, this is very serious and Trump's just going to have to make his case. There's a lot of Democrats that support this, guys like John Fetterman, among others.
They're stepping.
When Democrats and Republicans can agree on something, we have to pay very close attention to it. This is what Nick was talking about, I think 2 shows ago, when he was talking about, notice how the Zionist, pro-Israel, Jewish lobby, how they don't care who's in office. They'll put money behind Democrats. They'll put money behind Republicans. They don't look at politics like us, Democrat versus Republican. And that's why they're always 3 steps ahead of us. That's why we're sitting here wondering, like, damn, how did this happen? Now, perhaps somebody like Nick, who, saw it maybe a couple years ago, the rest of us were not there. The rest of us were not there. We just heard Trump say no war in Iran. My dumbass, I just didn't want trans being pushed in the community or at schools. I didn't want boys playing sports against girls. I didn't want people running the country that can't even tell me what a woman is, that can't answer whether or not a man can get pregnant or not. I just thought that was just unfair to society and unfair, most importantly, to a lot of our young kids to be growing up with those type of woke ideologies and thinking that that's the norm. So what did I do? I was rocking with RFK Jr. RFK Jr. switched and then got on board with Trump. Told myself, I don't know. The previous 2 elections, I didn't even vote just because I was like, yo, I'm not feeding into this. I'm not just giving my vote away anymore, especially for these people that I have no confidence that they'll actually deliver on anything that they say they will. So I went back and forth, and I'm still back and forth on it now. I told myself, bro, I'm not voting next election. I'm done. Voted for Barack 2 times. Yeah. Yeah. So you can understand the disappointment, just as far as the disappointment with the manipulation. And now I get, I take off 2 elections, come back, vote for Trump. And this man has just completely made me look like a fool. Trump has us looking like idiots. This man campaigned on all of the exact things that he's now opposing. That's the things that he's campaigning on. He's doing the 180 opposite. 180. Not a little bit that way. 180, he's doing the opposite. He put the little executive order to stop the border, but like Nick said, and he brings up a great point, that's not setting anything up long term. We're so concerned about Iran long term. Why are we not concerned with our border being protected long term? We don't have a border wall. So therefore, just like when Joe Biden came into office and reversed all his executive orders and opened up the border, and you had 10 million people coming over, who's to say that they just won't do the same thing again? That's how you know these people are all working for the same group. Donald Trump is full of it, bro. You care more about protecting Israel long term than you do America. And it's playing out right in front of us.
Back and to not take any problems if it goes sideways, but they're behind it.
100%. I think so. And I don't think they would move against him for that. So
here's Trump saying that no, he forced Israel's hand, even though on record the Pentagon admitted, no, we didn't know. They took the opportunity, so we had to hit. The Secretary of State says that Trump makes him come out and say that wasn't true. Talk about congressional hearings now. What's going to happen to Rubio when he's in front of Congress? So this is very embarrassing right now. Here is Trump saying that they made him Trump forced Israel's hand to strike first during the middle of the day against our doctrine. And then why do you think Rubio came out yesterday and said Israel forced our hand? What do you think the impetus behind that was? Here it is.
President, did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes against Iran? Did that pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have negotiators, great people, people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going.
Y'all know I do that once a show. All right. Give me 30 seconds. My apologies. Give me 30 seconds to say what I just said in 2 minutes. All right. Give me 30 seconds. That's my bad. I hate making noises on the mic. That's why, neither here nor there. Trump just completely contradicted himself. I'm going to say this very quickly. Trump contradicted himself. Rubio came out before and made it very clear that Israel was getting ready to attack Iran, and that they knew that if anybody, aka Israel, attacks Iran, then Iran would attack us. Now Trump's trying to sit here and act as if, in my opinion, as if his opinion holds any weight at this point. They were going to attack us, that's why we attacked them. Does any American believe that Iran was seriously getting ready to attack America? Does anybody believe that Iran was getting ready to attack America? It doesn't even sound plausible. It doesn't even sound like a possibility. Iran has been very clear. They're on the defensive. They have not been the aggressor. The last time they attacked us, they gave us the heads up and told us to clear our base, gave us the exact time that they were getting ready to strike so we can get out of there so they wouldn't kill Americans and can minimize the damage. Think about it from that standpoint. And even how Trump first started off, that's just pride and ego. That's pride and ego. He knows he looks like a fool. He knows he's getting bullied. He knows that his entire outlook of him has changed amongst the American people, even his supporters. He knows that he looks like a sucker. He looks like a sucker in perhaps a way that no other president has looked. And he has the potential to bring America down to its knees in ways that no other president has potentially done. That's what's real. So now he's trying to, build himself up, build his ego back up, his damaged and bruised ego that Bibi Netanyahu just completely destroyed. I don't even want to use certain words that I want to use, but he knows that, and that's his way of acting as if he's showing some type of strength. Bro, we don't believe you. We don't believe you. You have no say. We may as well be just voting for Bibi Netanyahu. Matter of fact, let Bibi Netanyahu get up here and give a State of the Union. We don't even need to hear from Trump at this point. There's absolutely no point. There's no point. Let's just hear from Bibi. Like, all right, Trump, you filled in. You did a great job. We don't want Bibi to be running our country, but at least since he already is, we might as well just hear from him to get some understanding. Because right now, nobody has any idea what's going on. And I'm not expecting Pete Hegseth or Donald Trump to give us the exact war plans. But even from a reasoning standpoint, we're not stupid, bro. This is not our parents and our grandparents where they don't have access to a lot of the information that we have. We have access to this. We can look up a video of Donald Trump, what he said last year compared to what he's saying this year, and put it together very easily to where, like, it's just a different world that we're living in. And Donald Trump either doesn't care what our thoughts are or doesn't understand how technology works, or maybe it's a little bit of both. And I know I said only 30 seconds, so apologies once again for the mute. Y'all just gonna hear me sniffle or whatever else in the background, because I'm not gonna put it on mute again.
I think they were going to attack first, and I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand, but Israel was ready and we were ready, and we've had a very, very powerful impact.
Well, since the 80s, Iran has not launched an attack first. Every attack has been a response, a retaliatory attack. I mean, that is literally pulled out of Trump's butt, Nick.
It is. And that's exactly what happened last year, too. Israel came in and Trump said, we knew they were doing it. They told us, and the whole negotiations were a ruse. It's almost just childish to see Trump in the White House spin. Well, actually, I forced Israel to do it. This is when Trump just becomes grating. All those things we thought were charming 10 years ago or endearing or funny. Now it's just grating and insufferable. He's obviously full of it. There's nothing true about that at all. This idea that, like you say, that Iran was about to attack us. Really? We have 2 carriers there. We got a dozen warships, 50,000 soldiers, half of our Air Force, and Iran was going to start the war against us. Does that even make any sense? That is completely made up.
And then Rubio says Israel launched an attack, so we had to, because they were going to attack us. Now Trump goes, no, they were going to attack us with no information. I mean, I'm sorry, folks. I wanted to support Trump. I support the killing the carbon. That's why I hate this, because he's done a lot of good. We're watching Trump self-immolate on live television.
It is. It's a complete unraveling, and it's clear what happened there. I think, look, J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, they want to run for president in 28, so they know that their butt is on the line here. If this Iran war doesn't go well, there go their presidential ambitions. And so I think that when Rubio comes out and says, well, Israel made us do it, obviously, this is like a real-time narrative construction so that when in 28 he's questioned about it on the debate stage, if this becomes a debacle, this is hedging. He can say, well, we didn't have any options. We had the choice. Either we go in with Israel at the beginning or Americans die. Well, I chose to, that's going to be the argument. That's going to be the campaign speech. That'll be the, screenshot this. In a few years, that is what he's going to say on the debate stage. We had a choice. If we didn't act, then more Americans would have died. And I stood with Trump. We made the bold decision to go in and blah, blah. That is clearly going to be the answer.
And by the way, you're on a roll. You're on a roll. We got a whole other hour coming up. But let me just stop you. I said at the first of the show, they're going to use the insurance company shutting down the Strait of Hormuz as the claim that we've got to put a beachhead on the Iranian side so they can't close it to secure it for trade. I said I believe that'll be the excuse for boots on the ground, which they floated in the last 2 days, which Eric Prince freaked out about, rightfully. Ladies and gentlemen, he just put this out. Show the timestamp on this, guys. Scroll down. Pull it up. I just saw this now. Trump is now saying he signed an executive emergency order basically for war. If anybody tries to close the strait, it's already closed. So this is him using economic emergency powers to have an unofficial declaration of war. Nick, this is horrible. This is really bad. This is boots on the ground. So this is just a few minutes ago. What do you make of this, Nick Fuentes?
Well, it's like I said, we're being drawn in here. That is really the operative word. Nobody wants this. It's not in our interest. We are being slowly drawn in. And what that implies is that step by step, we're being dragged further into this. And that's always what happens. It always starts with, we're just putting maximum pressure sanctions. Well, we just killed Qasem Soleimani. Well, we just backed a cyber attack. It's always, we just did this one time. And all it does is increase our liability. It just increases our stake in this disaster. And so it was very obvious. Okay, we go in with the bombs really hard. We destroy the Navy. We destroy the missile launch platforms. Okay, well, then you get this logic like, well, you break it, you bought it. Now Iran inevitably is going to keep throwing missiles at us. We're running out of interceptors. So what do you do now? Iran is going to close the Strait of Hormuz. That's going to shut down 20% of the oil trade. What do you do now? Again, you're being drawn in step by step, and our share of this, our stake in this, is always increasing until you wake up and you find you're in this unthinkable scenario. So that's why I say I don't know that we can rule out boots on the ground in the future.
Oh, but that's the plan. People go, oh, the executive order just says they'll protect the ships. Yeah, they're going to do it with troops. I already saw it. People, we got a whole other hour coming up, but how people find you, Nick?
I am at rumble.com/Nick J. Fuentes. I'm live every weeknight, and I'm on Twitter, Nick J. Fuentes as well.
And I'm at Real Alex Jones on X and the Alex Jones Show on Rumble. Everybody, we've survived so much. Nobody thinks we're going to get shut down. The state receiver is refusing to pay the internet bills, refusing to keep the company open. So it looks like we're shutting down this month, towards the end of the month. We have the backup network. Just be ready, people, because you survive so much, you don't take it serious. Just get ready to share. Here's where Alex is at. Because I don't cry wolf. I just survive a long time. We'll be right back with hour number 4. Now, a lot of men particularly, because men's brains are designed, the cerebral cortex, in the areas of the brain, there's like triple the connections that a woman has to strategy. And that's why men love chess, men love football. It's all strategy. But you fill your head with that. Those are literal Roman bread and circuses the Romans wrote about to distract their men not to be politically involved. My cerebral cortex is focused on politics. So I have a lot of facts, a lot of overlaying information in history. This is a short segment. Long segment coming up with Nick Fuentes. But it's so frustrating to actually know how this works and see what's moving on the chessboard. And it's not in America's interest or anybody's interest, but tyrants. To understand the historical danger of all of this. And I don't really have words, Nick, to talk about when you look out second order, third order, fourth order consequences of this. Why privately the chairman of the Joint Chiefs told Trump don't do it. Eric Prince, many others. And, we have Trump and J.D. Vance in compilation saying we're not going to go to boots on the ground. We're not going to go to regime change. they're doing it. Can you speak to what you predict happens down this road we're going, and just there's got to be other ways of leverage. If we can't leverage Trump, who do we put pressure on in Congress to stop this, or is AIPAC too powerful?
I think what has been set in motion cannot be stopped at this point. I think that the time to do it would have been in 24, and everybody reassured us that if Trump won, well, we would pressure Trump later. I remember Mike Cernovich said that. He said, well, this is how politics works. You don't know how politics works. I do. He said, you got to get Trump elected, and then we're going to work in the admin, and we're going to fight the personnel and blah, blah. And this is, I know we've had this conversation. This is always my refrain. It's like, we tried that. We did that. We did that in the first term. And by the way, how did the first term end? Trump ripped up the 2018 nuclear deal. In 2019, we're effectively in a war with Iran. In 2020, he kills Qasem Soleimani. We're shooting down drones. They're attacking tankers. You can Google it. There's an article, I believe it was in December 2020. Trump actually ordered the military to attack Iran, or at least was considering it, in the lame duck session. And it was only his generals that discouraged him from doing it. So it's like, this is deja vu all over again. We live this, and we tried all that. The personnel, the voting, the Twitter campaign, the hashtags. And I think that, now Trump is going to do what Trump is going to do. And Trump, who knows why? Blackmail, persuasion, whatever. Those people are around him.
It's ego.
Really,
you said it an hour. It's ego.
It's ego, certainly. Whatever it is, that's what we're stuck with. And I think that if you want to really get it to stop, you just got to switch up and play both sides. You got to play both sides and go Democrat. And I don't want to do it. I don't like the Democrats. I fully understand what they represent, but what else can you do to the Republicans? All that other stuff is flaccid. Protest, tweet about it. They know if you are going to vote in November that you're really not serious. You're going to go and rah, 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 hold up the sign. But as long as they get your vote in the end, I mean, honestly, what difference does it make for them? There's a little less enthusiasm. They don't care. So I'm really, like I said, I think that we actually have to think beyond this. And we have to think the only way out of it is 28. How do we relight the flame in 28? That's all I care about. And for that to happen, maybe there needs to be a little pain. The current GOP has to suffer a little bit for it to be reborn in 28. But it's not going to be Vance and Rubio that save the day, obviously, based on this.
Well, I would say this. I may agree with you if we say we're not going to accept, we're not going to support. I would almost call it like a candidate by candidate basis. And then if somebody's a neocon, or we should do a litmus test. If they support this, they shouldn't be voted for.
How do you go candidate by candidate looking at Donald Trump? He's a candidate. He was saying all of these other things. And now you're going to vote for Rubio or J.D. Vance based on them supporting Donald Trump and doing all these things. And Rubio has always given neocon energy. Like, he's always given that. Didn't Trump used to call out Rubio for being controlled by Adelson? And now look. You go candidate for candidate, the same person that used to call out Rubio for being controlled by Miriam Adelson, or the Adelsons at that time, perhaps. I don't know if her husband was still alive. Now Donald Trump is the same thing. He's the same thing, man. It goes back to what Nick said. What Israel wants, one way or another, they're going to get. It doesn't matter about the candidate when it comes to this particular issue. At the end of the day, oligarchs, Israel, when it comes to those two specifically, they're going to get what they want. Power and money gets what it wants. Israel, for whatever reason, they get what they want. So that what makes me think that that's where the real power and money is. That's where they're trying to grow. Alex Jones mentioned earlier, you talking about you're not trying to expand, or that clearly they are, but look at the patch on their shirt. It shows the greater Israel, the patch on their uniform. Why else would you be wearing that? So it's very clear. Where does this leave us? I guess that's the question. Where does this leave America? Where does this leave? Is America getting ready to turn into some third world country or something like that? Like, is America getting ready to just be completely sold out and chaos just take over and the economy fail and it'll just be a good run? Y'all had 250 years. It was a great run, but all the smart money, we're moving over to Israel. I don't know. It's yeah. Let's keep going. What's up, Mia?
I almost see it as like a loyalty pledge, but let's come back because the French are sending their aircraft carrier to protect the one of the main corridors there, Suez Canal, and Trump is now basically saying they're going to send in U.S. ships into the Strait of Hormuz, which is a total trap. We'll be right back in 60 seconds. I don't want people to miss the historic point we're at right now. The fourth turning, the end of the old order, the populist revolutions happening everywhere, and then Trump betraying what he said he would do. I have compilations of him saying no boots on the ground, no full war. And here we are, and it's all unraveling in real time. The Strait of Hormuz has already been closed by insurance companies after Iran began to attack ships and blew up and sunk a few in the last 3 days. And now Trump signs an executive order saying, we'll do whatever we have to for open shipping. We'll put troops on the ground in the Strait of Hormuz on their side. We're going to have military escorts through there. The announcements are being made off his plan. I mean, this is escalating to the next level immediately. And this is why Eric Prince and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and others told Trump, Iran's not going to give up. You're not going to get regime change. 99% chance right away. You're not going to get it in 4 weeks or 6 weeks or a year. Now they're prepping us for just an endless war. So now we're against Europe with its plan to prop itself up with endless war with Russia. And now America has its plan for this. We didn't vote for this. We didn't sign up for this. And again, they might have attacked us when Israel attacked them, said Rubio yesterday. So we had to attack them. And when they hit our ships, which Iran knew that they hit a few ships, they close it with insurance. Then they send in the U.S. ships. Then the Iranians attack those ships. And they'll go, oh, my God, they attacked us. All we're doing is blowing them up. And then now Trump says we got to put troops on the other side of the Strait of Hormuz to protect us. I said it in the first hour. It's happening in live time. Nick, this is like a bad dream.
It is. It feels surreal. I still can't even believe it. Even though I've been predicting it and even though we're watching it, I wake up and I see the news. We are at war with Iran. And for people that are not paying attention to all this stuff, again, it cannot be overstated. This is like, it's literally the neocon nightmare scenario, like war with Iraq, Syria, now Iran.
This is the ghost of the neocons possessing us. This is their wet dream.
Yes, and for Trump to be the one delivering it, that's the most surreal aspect of all of it. You could see a DeSantis doing this. You could see a Kamala Harris doing this, honestly. But to see Donald Trump on Friday night at Mar-a-Lago with the hat on, with the black curtain announcing this war, building the case against the Iranian regime, you go, what happened? What happened to this movement? I mean, you and I, we've been with Trump really since the beginning, since 2015. And when he came down the escalator, his first big move was basically to destroy this Republican support for war and the war in Iraq in particular, repudiate that whole legacy of the Bush dynasty, George Bush, Jeb Bush. And so for him now to be doing this, it really feels like it's come full circle.
And we have Lindsey Graham having orgasms on television.
That too. Yeah, Lindsey Graham's a huge fan of this. Well, endorsed by Trump. So, I mean, again, this is my frustration. The signs were all there. J.D. Vance said at the Republican convention in 2024, we need to bomb Iran really hard. And Trump endorsed Lindsey Graham. This time he endorsed him 6 years ago. And Trump got up, you remember, during the election, and he said, if Iran takes me out, then we're going to wipe Iran off the map. Like, all of this was telegraphed from the beginning. And really, you know who I blame, sadly? I blame the so-called plan trusters. I know that you were more bullish on Trump, but you acknowledged these were legitimate concerns. There were a lot of people that said, no,
stop. Because you've been righter than me on this, and I'm not always right. I'm right about 90% of the time. I've been very honest. So I'm gonna now mea culpa here, because when I'm wrong, I'm gonna say it publicly. I needed Trump to be real, and so much good stuff. The carbon tax, getting out of it, I can go for an hour, and it's still better than that, but you can't have lesser of two evils. I have the Democrats trying to put me in prison. I just got subpoenaed again.
And there it goes. Everybody's looking out for their own survival. So if Alex Jones, if you're making decisions and seeing things in a particular way that benefits you personally, how are you so confused about what Donald Trump's doing? He took $250 million from Miriam Adelson. If you can make the decision that, oh yeah, I'm just gonna lean Democrat, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna try to tiptoe along these Epstein files so I can still remain relevant, still get the support. I forget who just wrote it, but saying that Alex Jones, he seems to just be getting propped up by Trump and Elon, so that's why he continues to, I guess, support them in ways when it's clear that they're moving in a direction that just doesn't make any sense. Because Alex Jones, he hasn't had that same energy that you would think that a conspiracy theorist, one of them ones on the wall of fame, right? The Mount Rushmore of conspiracy theorists, perhaps a lot of people would say, for him to just be so relaxed when it comes to the Epstein files. And now we understand why. The Democrats are trying to put me in jail. And you know who else they were trying to put in jail? Donald Trump. So perhaps we're seeing him pay back for the deals that he made when they were doing all those things, like trying to put him in jail. So I guess using Alex Jones' logic, you can understand. Now, Alex Jones may not be the president who takes an oath to serve the people, we the people, but do you think that somebody who already said, look, I ain't going to heaven, you think he cares about that oath? You think Donald Trump cares about an oath, or he cares about his own personal gain, his own survival, and what benefits him first and foremost, before anybody in this country? And guess what? Most of the Republicans and Democrats are the same way, with the exception of Thomas Massey. It's like this is who politicians are. They sell their soul in order to move up level by level, right? They sell their soul. They compromise themselves every time they move up by taking money from this organization, by saying, hey, oh, I need you to help me out here. So therefore, I need you to pay that promise back when you eventually get to that position. So when these people get to the positions of power, they're so busy trying to pay back the people that they got money from, got certain opportunities from, perhaps people that have some dirt on their names, but they say, hey, if you do this for me, so they have leverage over them, because once you do one thing, if I still have the same leverage over your head that to get you to do one thing, then I'll just keep using that until you're no longer willing to care enough about me putting it out there. And that may be never. So let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. But yeah, that is a good question. What happened to Alex? Alex just told us what happened to Alex. Alex just told us what happened to Alex. That is exactly what happened to Alex. You threaten to lock somebody up and people move differently. Alex is no different than these rappers, man. They talk all crazy, talk all tough until them cuffs come out, and then they sitting in that interrogation room and they pointing fingers, telling the whole story. Eating sandwiches and cokes and telling all. That's exactly what they are, bro. They're all the same. People that are willing to compromise their principles in one area will do it in another. So here we are. Let me try to catch up with these. Mia said, I would like a Massey Connor ticket. That could be dope. That definitely could be dope. Arctic said, and so relaxed with the Palantir surveillance data centers. He warned us 30 years, now pretends it's a good thing because the guy's in charge, because good guys are in charge. This is the same thing over and over. The more we learn about American politics, it just makes you second guess or third guess everything and look back at everything that we've been taught, everything that we've been indoctrinated with, and just seeing it, questioning it, maybe not even seeing it from a different angle, but just questioning, like, damn, I wonder if these evil Muslims were really that evil. I wonder if Iran is really. And I think we're going to continuously ask ourselves these questions until it's too late. People start dropping nuclear bombs, and the rich people, they'll go into their bunkers. All of us will, whatever happens, and then they'll come out of their bunkers, and it'll just be Bill Gates and everybody that's on the Epstein files, and they'll create a new religion, write a book, right, justifying how God decided to burn the planet this time with nuclear weapons, and the only people that survived were people that he went and tapped their shoulder and said, hey, I want you to build a bunker. Everybody else in this world is living demonic and living evil. Meanwhile, they're the ones that are living the most evil. And I'm not trying to draw any references to any previous stories that y'all may have heard. I'm just giving y'all my opinion of what may happen in the future. And then they're writing certain things, and then they're passing down this letter, these writings, to justify their existence, to justify how they're God's chosen people, and therefore they stay in control until they can't. And then they'll probably just put the same cycle on repeat with their next generations, their next lineage, the descendants of Abraham. I'm just using an example. I wasn't talking specifically about anybody. I'm just using an example. but let me, can I keep going with the video? All right.
To defend, when I got Arctic frost, I got to go to Congress and provide my documents because they're going after, Jack Smith. So the Democrats are trying to put me in prison. They run show trials on HBO. So obviously, it's not that I'm being paid off by Trump. I've been persecuted for supporting him. So I want to now pay out on this. I want to save the country, secure the border, find the missing kids. I want to believe. But I'm not in a cult. I'm not delusional. So I was like, I'm critical. This is overall good. But and now I'm just like, now I'm having to think of the off-ramp. Nick, we've talked about this privately. You're targeted too. They're trying to kill you at your house. This is, your name's Nick J. Fuentes. I'm Alex E. Jones. We're real people. We're under attack. So we're in the real world. You do what you think's right. I do what I think's right. You're not paid by people. I'm not. We're just our fans.
Bro, we don't need to hear all this. Like, all this victim, we don't, like, bro, stop. Wherever you're going, stop. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But like, you chose to lean into the lane that you chose to lean into. Like, all the victimhood stuff, like, bro, all the justification for why you got fooled by Trump and you're misleading your audience into trusting the plan when it comes to Donald Trump. Like, it's like the Philadelphia, y'all remember the Philadelphia 76ers, Joel Embiid, and then trust the process. Like, bro, nobody's trusting anything. We're the idiots that trust the process, while Israel and big the big banking industry, the oligarchs, they don't trust anything. They control the process. They control the people that control the process, convince the dummies, the mental slaves, some physical slaves, in order to trust some sort of process.
So to me, I needed Trump as my lifeboat. May not be perfect, but it's the lifeboat I've got. And I'm watching it sink by its own doing. And so this is horrifying. And so, but I can't sign on to covering up Epstein. I can't sign on to World War III. And so that's why I tried to promote the optimism, because I fucking need this, man. Like, I want to fix the country. I want to turn it around. So it's not that I was delusional. And I still hope we can turn it around, but I just, sorry, go ahead. You get what I'm saying?
Hey, yo, what just happened? Yeah, hold up. Like, what just happened? Do you need him to turn the country around, or do you need him and the Republicans to stay in power so you don't get locked up? I don't know what just happened there. I'm very uncomfortable right now.
I get it. And listen, like I said, I don't think that everybody that supported Trump was being dismissive about these concerns. I get it. We all wanted to believe. I was 18 years old when Trump ran.
Hey, yo, Nick low-key laughing at him. Hey, yo, Nick is low-key laughing at him.
In 2016. And I remember getting in fights with people. This is my whole life too. At 18 years old, I wore the MAGA hat at Boston University, one of the most liberal campuses in the country, and became a pariah on my college campus.
Something you sacrificed. It's sad to see something you fought and bled for die.
Yeah, and that's my whole adult life. I know that's a huge part of your life also, and now we're witnessing it's totally unraveling. It's an utter and complete betrayal. It's heartbreaking in many ways.
And when I try to salvage it with people, I get attacked as a liberal, which is when these people doing that can't even find Iran on a fucking map.
Yeah, well, what's called for is for us to be sober-minded about the entire thing, because there's a lot of Trump haters.
I've been a realist the whole time, but was hoping, and now I'm just not even hoping.
Perhaps if the majority of Americans can't find Iran on a map, perhaps they're not as great of a threat as you're trying to convince us, or that your big homie Trump has been trying to convince us that they are. You're right. Majority of us can't find it on the map. So why are we over there? Why are we sending our troops over there? You think our troops grew up under being able to find Iran on a map? Why are we there then?
I'm just going to be a realist.
Yeah, I mean, and really, it's okay to have hope. I mean, we hope for a better future, but we got to be brutally honest about what this administration has become. It's like, I saw this game play out in the first term, and I remember I went to D.C. in 2018. I met with people from the admin, and me being like 20, I was like, is Q real? Is there a plan? Is there a 5-dimensional chess? Is this all like going to end in building a wall and so on? And they looked at each other and they laughed in my face. And
real quickly, I feel like that was mean. I shouldn't be laughing at him, but it's just, come on, bro. Like, come on, bro. You allowed yourself to get manipulated because you needed this personally. And you were leading people astray from the typical energy that you would have just because you needed something personally. So, but either way, I shouldn't be laughing at bro.
They said, bro, I said, it is worse than you could possibly imagine.
Oh, I've been at the top of the Justice Department, and they literally they laughed at me, and they said, no, we mean well, but you have no idea how bad it is. The exact same thing.
Yeah, and anyone will tell you that. Anyone from Trump 1, any of the good guys from Trump 1, any of the people in Trump 2, they will tell you the exact same thing. It is brutal.
And that's right. And I will not come on air and lie to my audience about the situation because I believe in them. If they know how desperate it is again, we will rise to the occasion. I mean, I'm not going to sell hopium. It's just that clear.
Shout out to my big bro fan.
And it's tough. I mean, it's tough because you're right. I mean, what other option do we have? That's really the question. People say, well, what else is there?
Well, that's it. I'm so sad to have to start turning loose of something that had so much potential.
Yeah,
it's
well,
like
not only
that. Like a grandma dying or something.
Well, it's sort of literally. I mean, he's kind of getting up there, So it's very tragic and sad. And sadly, there's no alternative. I think it would be a little bit easier on all of us if there was any underclassmen here.
Exactly. I was about to say, there's no stable of new horses here.
Yeah, and I see that as a big failure of Trump because it should have been a whole new stable. It should have been a new generation of MAGA congressmen and senators. Like, where's our AOC? Well, they all got cannibalized. Madison Cawthorn got destroyed by the Republicans. Matt Gaetz got destroyed by the Republicans. Marjorie Greene so you had a few of them.
And
not as many as there should have been.
Gets vaporized by Susie Wiles.
Yep. Susie Wiles.
By the way, I confirmed 3 months ago with Flynn. He showed me the stuff. They're running opposite.
Hold up. Marjorie Greene did get whatever he called vaporized, whatever. But that was, or did he say cannibalized? Okay, he may have said cannibalized. But I thought that he was talking about the Democrats did it to Matt Gaetz. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, like, that's what, and I wonder what was Alex Jones saying when Marjorie Taylor Greene, when Trump was getting at Marjorie Taylor Greene? Because it seems like she was ahead on a lot of this stuff and willing to speak out on it. I wonder what Alex Jones's energy was. We need to go back and check that out.
Position on hundreds of people, Flynn, myself, by the way, I told you this. They're running major opposition research on not the Democrats, but on us because they know we're true. That's another level of this. Like, how's that feel?
Yo, see, all right, so y'all tell me if I'm wrong. So the hype said that I'm oversimplifying Alex Jones's motives and beliefs. He's an autistic savant, definitely cares as much, if not more, for country over himself. He's a good dude. Bro, I'm just responding to what he said. He may care more about the country than himself, which is why he's gone out the window and put himself in a position where Democrats could attack him. But based on what he just said, he said he needed this because the Democrats were trying to throw him in jail. So you can sit here and make whatever excuses you want for him and say that I'm oversimplifying stuff, but I'm just calling a spade. I'm just looking at this. And I already said that I shouldn't have been laughing at him, for crying and stuff like that or getting all emotional like this. But bro, let's not act like he didn't change his tune significantly when it came to the Epstein files, which is perhaps the biggest cover-up of any politician in the history of our country. Let's not act like he didn't change the energy a bit You had more aggressive energy towards Columbine than you had towards the Epstein files, if we're being real. It didn't seem like you were trying to press the button when it came to a lot of these issues and press the issue when it came to Trump and holding him accountable to these Epstein files. So miss me with all the sympathy and all that other stuff, all right?
And that people have no idea, but that has always been the struggle inside the GOP. That is always how it's been, which is that the establishment is always at war with its own base. This happened with the Tea Party.
It's fratricide.
I don't even know that it's fratricide because these people aren't even like us. These
I agree,
people
but like we're the real deal, and what does the doppelganger always do? The thing or the body snatcher, it kills the real thing.
Exactly. Well, it's invasion of the body snatchers.
Yeah, so they're the body snatchers. You're right. It's not fratricide. The body snatchers want to get rid of the real one.
Yeah, it's that skin suit. They take the organic mass movement, they try to mimic it as best as possible, and then they eliminate the actual movement. That was the Tea Party. I just talked to Michelle Malkin this week, and she said, we ran the same playbook 20 years ago. We ran the same playbook in 2006 when we would campaign against the rhinos in favor. Yeah, I know you guys have little.
No, the crew's telling me about clips. I was listening to you. They were like, Alex, you're supposed to reveal this big White House thing, which will do the next segment. I was listening to you. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so, this has been a multi-generational struggle. You go back to the John Birchers and National Review. You could go back to the paleocons and the neocons, Pat Buchanan, Sam Francis, Joseph Sobran versus the neocons, Tea Party, right up through to the Trump movement. And I always sort of knew right around 2018, 2019, that the biggest gap is that Trump is not an institutionalist or an institutionalizer. He is actually not going to create the so-called movement conservatism of the Trump generation. Who's going to fill in the gaps? It's all the same people. It's all the same money.
And what you just said is beyond key. His strength is he's not institutional, but when he leaves, that's our greatest weakness because there's nothing staying. There's nothing left there.
Exactly. And that's why it's now backsliding. The personnel, there is no cadre of radical Trump supporters to fill up this White House. He still has to rely on the old guard.
Let's look at Iran in a good way, a bad way. They've got even more radicals below, so they knock out the elite. It doesn't matter. They just get stronger. With us, there's no second bench.
Well, yeah, there's no bench at all. Trump said it himself today. He said, I'm MAGA, not Tucker, not Megyn Kelly. He said, it's just me. And you go, really? So it's not Tucker. It's not Marjorie. It's not Thomas Massey. It's just you and your war with Iran and your Epstein files.
Yo, did Trump really say that? Like specifically that it's not Tucker? I'm going to look that up.
I've told you probably earlier, Nick, I respect you. Just with something you say, but you're a leader. You care. I'm like, you're the future, Nick. We're counting on you. A real leader immediately recognizes younger bulls that are going to lead the people in the future. That's what a tribal leader does. With Trump, it's this ego thing where anybody else being strong is bad. And as he gets older, it's worse. It's sick.
You're right. That's like a boomer thing. That's the baby boomers, or he's 1946. This is like a baby boomer thing. They will not let us have anything. They're hoarding the wealth. They're hoarding these fiefdoms. You're right. It is an ego thing. And at the end of the day, that is really his issue. Nobody wants to admit it. It's actually brave of you to say that because that's a huge thing. A lot of people say, oh, it's his advisors. He's getting bad advice. It's his personnel. It's him.
No, I said back in March, it's him coming up, Epstein. All because he loves the power of protecting all these scumbags. He's not involved. He loves the power over them. He's not even in the blackmail. He's just in general, I'll take care of it. Bullshit, you will, man. And that's my concern is how do I not go totally psychotic and go all out anti-Trump because I still want to get Republicans elected because they're better. That's a real needle to thread here. That's what I'm trying to do, Nick.
It's tough. Like you said, I mean, because we're also trying to stay out of jail. We're literally between a rock and a hard place. The Democrats want to kill us and flood the country with immigrants. The Republicans want to send us to die for Israel. So you go, okay, well, I mean, it's really hard to win here.
Todd Blanche, let me tell you, to be clear. They're trying to figure out how to put several hundred of us, just to confirm, insiders. Flynn, they told Flynn, they're trying to put us in jail, bro. We don't have 3 years anymore. We have Todd Blanche trying to do it now.
Under what pretext? What's
they just like they opened a national security investigation under Obama in 2013. They got the FBI. We know because the FBI doesn't like it. As bad as they are, they're like, what is this? Like, really? They got jihadis, sleeper cells. They are literally over 200 people. They have FBI, national security dragnets going on us right now. When I said opposition research, that's just the name of it. No. The Republican Party is now looking at all of us that have any soul, and they see us as the enemy.
We got to get out of Dodge, man. I don't know what country you're dropping in at, but that's the saddest part. You know, the whole country's coming down. The GOP's coming down. It's hard to kind of figure out what that next move is. That's why, for me, I keep my options open.
Used to head up the Army, and then the Defense Intelligence. He got confirmed. He won't give me classified stuff, but they're like, sir, they got a whole opposition thing to take us down, and you're at the top. And they say it's a bunch of names. And he's like, so, yeah, no, they're literally not worried about Democrats. They're going to put them in jail. They're literally worried about loyal Americans. And to the Pentagon's credit, they're like, this is bullshit. Like, I've had all these Delta Force current guys, all of them call me, thank you, we're not going to go along with this. They're all freaking out, which is the good news. They have the Pentagon, bro, tasked to spy on us as the enemy when we're the real Americans. I mean, imagine the wake-up call in Tampa that they're like, we're not tasked for Muslims, we're tasked for Nick Fuentes and General Flynn and Alex Jones. Yeah, I just give you that newsflash.
Yeah, well, that's the story of the admin, you know. Bill Clinton is being protected, Hillary, Obama, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's always this cope, like, well, you know, here's how Trump can still win.
Here's why you're right, because we learned this the last 60 days. I told you this on the phone. I don't know if it got through because I talk fast. Dude, we're the focus because they know we're not sellouts. They're like, looking, we got it all. We got Trump under control. Who will block us? And they're literally getting rid of Ed Martin, creating fouls on us. And they're pissed because there's nothing there. What, like your most decadent action is what, getting a pizza, right? That's your big party. Exactly, me too. I don't mean that's a pedophile thing. I mean, like you're getting a steak or whatever. They literally, though, are enraged because they can't find anything on us. They won't charge the Muslims. They won't charge the Somalis stealing billions. But literally, the eye of the White House is on us because they're worried we'll influence Trump.
It's how it's always been. You know, the GOP has always been cannibalizing the authentic base. That's just it. And that's why I've always said the GOP is really our biggest enemy. It's not even the Democrats, because at least the Democrats are the devil, you know, and you know that they're your enemy. But it's always these Republicans. They say, we're going to take the fight, hold the line, all this. And then they always turn the cannons inward and shoot at their own people. That has always been the story. So, you know, I tell my followers, take your own side. The GOP is not looking out for you. They're not fighting your enemies. They're not securing advantages for you.
America first in our America survival. In fact, I'm going to start the America Survival Party. America first is great. America only. How about America Survival? We need to understand it's up to us. Nobody's coming to save us.
And that's what people got to get through their heads is it's not going to be a top-down thing. It's going to be incumbent on all of us to get involved, getting involved in government, getting involved in the universities and the private sector, because, obviously we tried it with Trump. People say you're not going to vote your way out of this. Surely we're not going to solve it just by electing the right president and expecting everything to flow from the top down. It doesn't work that way. So I agree with you completely. It's a shame because we had an opportunity here. Like you said, we really had a major opportunity. Trump won the popular vote, for crying out loud, on a platform of mass deportations and everything. And what it has secured is a corporate tax cut for the rich, a war for Israel, Epstein cover-up. You go, okay, so what are we doing here? What does it profit us actually to even participate in the charade? So I'm interested in a revolutionary change or nothing at all. And I know a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people think that's extreme, and they remind me, if the Democrats get in, then this, that, and the other. I'm interested in either we get the change or we don't. But if the Republicans are
compromise has gotten us here.
Right.
And I respect your stuff is, super accurate, so I respect accuracy.
And something that Nick mentioned earlier, what Nick is tired of, and this may be a generational thing, trusting the process, right? He's not going to just continuously vote for the lesser of two evils. At some point, we have to realize that voting for the lesser of two evils, we're always going to get evil. and things are just going to be more and more radicalized, right? Because every time we vote for the lesser of two evils, it's like we are willing to accept voting for somebody who may do more and more evil, right? We're compromising our morals and principles by even voting for the lesser of two evils in a lot of ways. So every time we compromise our morals and we say, well, that's okay. Okay, well, then maybe that's okay. And then we just keep going down that same path, voting for the lesser of two evils until we decide to stop that and just no longer accept voting for evil and to vote for the things that we actually want, we the American people, somebody that's going to prioritize us, our country, and not just create chaos with things that don't even have anything to do with us and put us at risk. Until we make that decision that Nick is suggesting, we're always going to get in this position where we're Alex Jones getting extremely emotional, getting extremely disappointed in these people that we thought would finally be the ones that are going to change things and do things in our favor. And once again, we've seen before our eyes that these politicians ultimately have more of a commitment to the people that are funding them rather than to the people that are voting for them. Just my opinion, though. Shout out to Big Bro Steve. I see you just came in.
We should still try to think of leverage points.
Hey, Michelle.
Trump did shut up when he kept saying vaccines are great with Bill O'Reilly and stuff until a few years ago. And he finally shut up and brought in Kennedy. They've done some good. He never admits guilt, but sometimes he'll back off. I think we shouldn't give up yet. How do we put pressure on Trump to pull out of this insanity? Because we got to try, even if it's impossible.
I mean, the most you could do is express your dissatisfaction. I don't know that there's going to be a 1 million man march anytime soon. I think the war is actually, they say it's not that popular, but I think people are apathetic. So what do you do to pressure Trump? I mean, you can call your congressman and your congressman can take it up with Mike Johnson or something. But I think all we could do is really buckle up and we could wait for this to wash over us. I think at the minimum, you just make it clear we're not on board. I mean, burn your MAGA hats. I've tried it. You know, I went out to a little bit to Michigan in 24 to try to get people not to vote and try to get some attention. We bombarded True Social. We bombarded Twitter. It didn't do any good. They're not listening.
Said then, I want to get good Republicans elected. I'm doing this to get their attention. And they spun it. You were actually trying to stop votes. I got some horrible news for radio listeners. TV viewers just saw it. Just like I said at the start of the show, Trump has now announced forever war. No, we're not talking about a Hollywood movie with Tom Cruise. We're talking about, he just said 1984 forever war. Reuters. They're printing the article now. What the hell is that, Nick Fuentes? I mean, this is just, it's like Trump is an old barn burning down in lifetime.
Yeah, it's a sight to behold, especially for us. I think that a lot of people got red-pilled after the pandemic. Maybe they don't realize the gravity of this, but this is just like, what else is there even to say? I mean, at this point, this is the same guy that came down the escalator and said the war in Iraq was a big mistake. We should have never been there. We knew they had no weapons of mass destruction. And now he says we're fighting a forever war against Iran for regime change. You know, you just have to shake your head and you wonder how people are still on board. That's honestly the worst part is you go on Twitter and people are still making excuses. They say, oh, it's about China. Well, we'll wait until there's boots on the ground. You go, really? I mean, I don't know what people need to see for them to realize that we got tricked. We got betrayed. Now we need to try something else. But yeah, it's shocking to hear these things. He goes, I don't have the yips about boots on the ground. You don't have the yips. We're going to deploy to the Middle East again? Seriously? And then they say, we can go indefinitely. We're going to fight forever. Now, in fairness, I think that when he says that, that is rhetoric. And that
all of this just sounds strong. But the point is, it's antithetical to what he ran on.
Right.
I mean, because that's what the Pentagon wants is a 20-year war like Afghanistan that's just a big moneymaker.
It is. It is antithetical. And here's the thing. Trump can gesture and bluff all he wants, but we are in the war and we're getting drawn in. So the problem with those kinds of things is, you know, the Pentagon is going to take that and run with it. You give them an inch, they're going to take a mile.
Well, yeah, let's be clear. Let's go to break and talk about this. It just blew me away. I mean, the Iranians lost 2 million people. That's World War I numbers in the proxy war with Iraq against Iran backed by us. These people do not fuck around. Yeah, a bunch of high school and college kids are out running around protesting. They're not going to kill people, folks. The Muslims are willing to do it. And they're not the retards like the other Muslims. We'll be right back. So there's a lot of different...
Bro, what? Like, like... They're not the retards like the other Muslims. Like, bro is bugging. You can't say stuff like that, man. That to me makes me lose any empathy or sympathy that I had built up for him, bro. Like, you saying stuff like that, you just feeding into this. You no different than Bibi Netanyahu when you say stuff like that. You're just propagandizing. Like, that's crazy to say, man. Anybody that's rocking with energy like that, bro, that ain't it, bro. That ain't it, man. We're going to keep going, but that was wild.
Jobs of people in the world, but you can really break them into 3 or 4 groups. There's a lot of subgroups, but there's people that are just zombies, NPCs, and don't care. There's people that calculate whatever the current power structure is and go along with that. And then there's people that do what's right and don't think about the consequences because it's spiritual ingrained in them to do the right thing. And you got to have a 4th group that are good but are scared to tell the truth. And you can add a lot of other groups, subgroups to that. But people always ask who pays you, who does this. I sell you stuff straight up, supplements, books, T-shirts, whatever. It's all great stuff. But I love the truth. I love humanity. I am a good person. My ancestors were good. I never really thought until I got older about like measuring up to them.
You ever had certain people tell you they're good people after they just say something like that, super disrespectful, bro? Like, convince yourself that you're a good person. You don't have to try to convince us.
I never really talk about my ancestors because it's like I'm going to live off them, but it's ridiculous. I'm all the way back to William the Conqueror and the old kings of England and, the inventor of the stock exchange and the Greshams, just on my mom's side. And then they all got kicked out, so they went to the New World, do their own deal, and the Mayflower on my dad's side, all of it. But I'm doing this myself. This is me. This is my time. Alex Jones did this with you. So I don't live in some class thing where it's off my name. This is a meritocracy. In the meritocracy, I've kicked some ass. And then I look at people in the political system, left, right, you name it, that just go with what will get them ahead, but they don't think about the 2nd, 3rd, 4th order of things. Well, I'll tell you the 6th or 7th order. And in historical mathematics and political equations, politics is math. You got it all together. Doing what's right and not thinking about all the different permutations is the most sophisticated thing and the most powerful always. So I can think through all these levels and get lost in it for hours and do incredible things consciously. But just being good and doing what's right, I always see God's plan in the end was the most advanced thinking. And Nick, I think it's important to state that because I can tell, and I know you get ready for your show. I've seen you ready for it here. You're just reading, researching. Nobody's telling you what to say. There's no handler. When they've sued me, the Democrats and their big law firms, they're always like, who's the boss? Where's the money? Who tells you what to say? They cannot believe for years till they depose the whole crew. Like, who tells you what to say? They don't even get, like, this is real. Because for them, they're slaves. It's all handed down to them, every fucking word they say. So speak to authenticity. If you say what you want about Nick Fuentes, you are your own man. You're not a Fed. You're not controlled. You're your own 26, 27, 28, whatever it is now, young man. And that very idea threatens them that there's so much native talent that God gave us through our species.
Well, that's the thing. They're now trying to reverse engineer me. In the past year, they saw my clips go viral. They saw the show blow up. And now they're all trying to reverse engineer. And they want to say, well, what is the secret ingredient? Why are people listening to this guy? And in many ways, I'm sure they did the same with you.
It's authenticity and native intelligence.
Well, they try to characterize it and they say, well, it's because they're edgelording or they're offering something sensational or it's, all different types of things. And they're always looking at it on the cosmetic level. But what they're missing is that we are real and people can tell. We are trying to do our best. We are trying to tell the truth. We are guided by our conscience and people can pick up on that. You're a live streamer in a sense. You're on radio. I'm more of like I guess we're both in live streaming.
No, I've been live streaming since it started, yeah.
But you can't hide. You can't hide on a live stream. When you do a show for 3 hours a day, every day for 20 years, and I've done it for 10 years, there's nowhere to hide on that. Eventually people can
ask,
pick up
how do you
on,
have energy? Because they got to calculate everything in 2 minutes. No, the answer is I don't calculate how I look. I already know what's true. Exactly. There's no energy to bullshit when you're on the air 4 hours a day.
Exactly. There's no pretense. There's no facade. There's nothing like that. And that's what people like. People are sick of being lied to. People are kind of dumb, but they can tell when they're being lied to sometimes. And I think that the basis of our appeal, or at least the reason why we have a fanatical following, people that really follow us, is because there is that connection. They're tapped into the same thing that we are.
I think you're right. Overall, you're right. But the big thing is you're right. You've been right like 99% of the time, Nick. That's why they do. I mean, sure, your jokes are funny. You're a good-looking guy. You're witty. I edgelord too. It's fun, but it's unscripted. But at the end of the day, it's being right. You would not be successful if you were not correct. That's the final ingredient, is being right. That's what they don't like. The bad guys hate the fact that we're smart, we figured them out, and we're right, and they know it. And if people listen to us, they'll learn how we know. We tell them the secrets, how we know it, and we tell them it's game over. That's why I keep harping. Look how accurate I am. I said Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. I bet there's a sleeper cell Muslim attack, and I bet it happens tonight. Probably Austin, Texas, or Dallas, or Houston. It happened. It just, people ask, how did I know that? It's just, I can just see all the pieces.
You're right. It's the truth. It's the truth, and that's our biggest secret weapon, I think, that we have.
So where does this go forward? I want to play a few clips of the Zionist Greater Israel. Anything you want to say, just say it now, because I've been asked the questions. You're very nice. I've told you be aggressive like you're on your own show. You're very, very deferential on mine. Give us 10 minutes of just however long you want. Nick Fuentes Unleashed.
Nick Fuentes Unleashed. Well, to me, this entire debacle with Iran, it has to go somewhere. Like, I'm with you when you say, how do we pressure Trump to stop? Although I am pessimistic that we can get Trump to change course, this does have to give way to something. It does have to generate action. And I continue to believe that the only action that is really going to work, that is possible, is that we have to switch up the voting. I really believe that. Like, my playbook right now, when I look at this Iran thing, all this does is make me more confident that I was right in 24.
Listen, I love Jan McGinnis, but he said something yesterday very profound. He goes, Trump's got us by the balls. I'm his bitch, basically. Well, I don't want to be in that position.
Damn, Alex.
Exactly. So you need options. You don't want to be somebody's bitch. You need options. You need to be able to walk away from the table. And what allows you to walk away from the table is if you have another option. You have somebody else to go to.
And the Republican Party is like a woman. And I don't want to be mean to women, but it's just funny. When you tell a woman, I'm done, you're not in charge, they kiss your ass. As soon as you kiss their ass, you're in the doghouse.
Yep. Yeah, that's a weird psychology. It's any negotiation. Any negotiation is like that. It's all a power dynamic. It's all about, the coincidence of wants. And so they want our votes. We want them to work for us. If they don't work for us, we can't give them our votes. And if we're not going to give them our votes, well, we should just throw them to the other side.
Is it with Israel? I get Israel swinging its dick around to piss everybody off. But what about Israel bragging they run us here domestically? That's not good. I mean, what's the chutzpah point?
Yeah, so I think that Tucker might be onto something when he says that the reason they do this is because they want actually to bait and incite people to freak out. And there's sort of like a subtle distinction here. Then certain groups can say, oh, there's all this anti-Semitism, and people usually stop there. But you got to consider the Jewry in Israel is distinct, although related to the Jewry in America. The Jews in Israel, I think their desire is to see the American Jews move there. I think their desire is to see American.
Yeah, they see themselves as the Ubermenschen.
Yes, and so I think it is in their interest to generate Jewish nationalism, and Jewish nationalism is a response to anti-Semitism.
That's
so
why
they can
Israel
put out all
bombed
the stuff.
Baghdad, bombed
bro.
Madrid in the 50s to make Jews, and blamed it on communists to make them move to Israel.
Exactly. And similarly in America, all the so-called anti-Semitism is pushing the American Jewish community into the arms of Israel, either moving there or supporting them or, getting involved in activism. So I think to the extent that there's a play there, I think that's pretty clearly what it is. There's a symbiotic relationship.
Well, look at how Israel funds Al-Qaeda, funds Hamas, creates them, all that, the elements running it. and I'm not saying do this because I couldn't do it either, but and the Muslims obviously on average are so emotional, so it's like it's impossible. But
all right, I'm going back to laughing at him. This man was just crying on the stream earlier, breaking down about the cry, and now he's just like, "What is your deal, bro? Like, what? Why do you like? I just don't understand why people always try to like talk about Muslims in a way that they would never even talk about another group of people. Like have this energy towards. If you're gonna have this energy, why don't you have this energy towards Jewish people? I'm just wondering. You claim to love America so much. Who's controlling America? Muslims or Jewish people? Who's controlling America? The pro-Israel Zionist, um, big money people like Miriam Adelson, or is it the Muslims? Like we love to throw Muslims under the bus. Muslims are doing their thing in their country. Let them do their thing. And the reason why a whole lot of Muslims had to come over here is largely because we caused so much destruction in a lot of their countries to now we got to bring them in as refugees. How about we stop messing with these Muslim countries if we don't want Muslims here? How about you just let them do their thing? Because what's going to happen now with all these Iranians? What's going to happen when all of them seek a place for refuge? Like it's don't feed into this, bro. The reason why the Muslims are here, people want the Muslims here. They benefit some oligarchs or whoever else. If they didn't, then they wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be here. But I just don't like this rhetoric that people have been trying to use on us for a very long time, especially since 9/11, to where it manipulated a lot of us into seeing all the Muslims as the bad guys. Alex Jones is way too intelligent to be acting like this, like trying to, I don't know why he's doing this, who he's doing it for, who he's trying to appeal to, but it's just so funny to me. The same thing with like Nick, when Nick always says the N-word, it's like, bro, like your beef isn't really with black people like that. Like black people aren't even significant enough, to be totally honest. It's disappointing, but black people aren't even significant enough for you to even have an issue. Black people didn't cancel you at 18, Nick Fuentes. Black people aren't trying to cancel you right now. Black people aren't even really saying much about you. To be real, I would say that a lot of black people are probably moving towards looking into people like Nick Fuentes and moving away from the Democrats and people that probably rocked with Donald Trump, but now that Donald Trump's doing what he's doing, they like, nah, I ain't rocking with him. But you seem to always throw the N-word around. I don't ever hear you talk about that derogatory term that they call Jewish people. I don't see you putting on your T-shirts that you have wing half laughing about the N-word. If you're really that guy and you really care about the country, then why don't you address the people who are threatening the country based on your words the most? That's all I'm wondering. I'm just wondering, like, stop punching down and punch up. Punch up. Don't punch down. Punch up. Come up with some of those T-shirts.
If they Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King them or Jesus Christ them, Jesus knew what to do. Imagine if no one fought Israel and everybody just stopped. Well, then Israel would just stage stuff and say they did it. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They would just blow stuff up and say they did it. I mean, but what if you could get everybody to stop fighting Israel? That would be the key to shutting it down.
See, I don't know if that's the case. If it's just a matter of getting them to stop fighting, I think that.
No, but you what I'm saying. They have to. They fund the radical Muslims to get attacked, right? And stood down on October 7th. Obviously, it's academic. What I'm saying, it's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah, I think the solution is that we need a movement that is actually restraining Israel. Like it needs to go further in the sense that
that shows you what they're scared of. They got 20 states or 23 to pass laws that if your city condemns Israel and genocide, they don't get state funds. That's unconstitutional. Exactly. They're really worried about boycotts.
Well, and in particular in the national security apparatus, they don't want anybody in the National Security Council or the Pentagon that is going to tell the president, you need to restrain Israel, because they're driving the conflict. I said it on my show the other night. If it was up to Washington and Tehran, they would have made a deal because it's in both of their interests and there is enough overlap there. It is Israel that doesn't want the peace. So what's the answer? The United States needs to use its leverage over Israel and say, look, we pay for your military. We protect you from sanctions and from the UN and the rest of it. You have to do what we say. You have to listen to us. You're not going to go into Iran alone. You're not going to sabotage our diplomacy. You're not going to go out there with these provocative statements and threaten Iran while we're trying to make a deal. And if you wanted to actually have peace, if Tehran and Washington were to make a deal, that is the necessary step. As a matter of fact, that's the only step.
Because I said before you came on, I was going to say this, and I didn't. Maybe I'll shoot a special report today because I have a lot of sources. I don't want to give them up. But a lot of it came out in the newsletter, so I can say it now. Trump's doing face saving right now, saying, no, I made Israel attack first. Well, the Pentagon's like, no, we didn't want to attack during the day. And Rubio's like, yeah, they did it. Sorry.
Newsflash, Alex, we all know. You may just be admitting that to yourself or to the world, but yeah, it's pretty obvious.
We're all freaked out about this. I know the chairman told him privately, he came on the news, this is a bad idea, don't do it. We'll follow your order though, sir, but here's 70% bad options. We say don't do it. Then I confirmed with others that Israel, basically Trump was like leaning on not doing the attack, so they did this. Now Trump is face saving because he wants to obviously do that, and that Trump got really pissed off. There's photos of him screaming at Hegseth, who I think overall is a good guy. But the bottom line is that I've confirmed that Israel is basically in control of our foreign policy by our own posture to be allied with them, and that is uncontrovertible. Because now they're trying to do damage control. Oh, no, Trump gave the order. No, our very doctrine is if Israel's attacked, we attack. And so thank God Russia's not following its agreement with Iran or China, or we'd be in war with them right now. So it is a fact. And then the neocons, the Israel lobbies all over the internet attacking anybody that points this out and tries to say it's not the case, while Netanyahu brags about it. So, I mean, that's the big news. I'm not even defending Trump. It actually makes him worse. That it is now literally true. What I claimed, well, I wanted to claim wasn't true because I don't want to believe it. That Trump is an errand boy of Israel. And how do we deal with that, Nick Fuentes?
Well, if Trump is an errand boy for Israel, then you got to shut down his government, and that means you got to go into the midterms and you got to get the Democrats in, and the Democrats hopefully.
We gotta keep it real on both sides. Like, I've been bashing him for certain things, but him saying that's big. That's big. He's gonna get some calls after this. He says that about Trump. He's gonna get some calls after this. I'm for it. About time you joined us.
They will impede the administration. That's what they're going to do. They're going to launch investigations, subpoenas, select committee, all that kind of stuff, and they're going to grind it to a halt. And, if Trump is an operative of a foreign government, consider that he's forfeited his entire mandate, because his whole basis of support is that he's America first, MAGA. He's not like the other politicians. Okay, well, if you're an errand boy for Israel, if you're a puppet of the Jewish state and you're bringing us to war, for them, that's not like a small thing. That's not like a little bit of foreign aid. We're going to war on their behalf. He has to be opposed. And a lot of people don't want to take it there for one reason or another. But, I don't know what the option is. I don't know how you work with that. If you're America first and Trump is Israel first, well, that's not exactly a divide that can be bridged. There's not actually a middle ground between
no, I totally agree. So let me give you the
Israel.
good news from my sources, and there are many, Pentagon, White House, you name it. This is a firestorm. Trump is really pissed off. He doesn't even know what he thinks. That's why all these messages, notice the last few hours, the messages are all schizophrenic. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, all over the media.
So that's good news, at least. I think we've got to. What would you? I'm telling you, Trump will end up probably seeing this because they respect you. I've met with them and stuff. I told you off record. Like they've seen the algorithms. They're paying attention to you, son, and I mean that in a nice way. What would you advise the president to do right now?
Well, it's tricky because we're in. So, you would have said never go in, but we're in now. Now that we're in, I think you got to hit Iran really hard and then you try your best to leave. But, again, it's like I said before, Israel is going to want us to push deeper and deeper into this until we have a full-scale regime change.
And then if we win, put assholes in to do it again.
Right. So you got to back off. You got to let the Iranian regime reconstitute itself and restore order. Because if the Iranian security architecture is not going to rule the country, then who is? There's nobody else. So it's either
that's what
a failed
Prince
state.
said 2 weeks ago. Same thing.
Everyone has. I mean, it's just obvious. This country has 90 million people in it. Their economy's already collapsing. If you don't have the IRGC running the country, it's just going to be a failed state. Unless you have an alternative, which they don't. So that's who's going to prevail. And so you need
to just... war crime to go wreck this state if you don't have an alternative.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. This is shaping up to look like Syria or like Libya. One of these places where it's like the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. Because who's then going to provide all the services and the goods, and who's going to provide for the logistics and infrastructure, security?
Well, I've seen Israelis on a bunch of interviews say, we don't care about the Iranians. Screw them. Wreck it. We can't be part of something like that.
Well, and this is the Jewish holiday of Purim. I believe it was yesterday, Purim, which commemorates the victory of the Jews over the Iranians, and they celebrate their victory by killing 75,000 Iranians just on account of. They already won, they already got their guy, and they just killed a bunch of them anyway. So they view them as the Amalekites. And the Amalekites kill the women, kill the children, kill everybody. That's who we're dealing with here. And people say it's the Khazar Mafia. People say it's the Masons. This is out of the Old Testament. This is out of the Talmud. It's Jews. It's Israel. And that's what they have in store for the Iranians. They love, just like in Gaza, they love to see it. So,
all right, I had like 50 clips, and I should have played this with you. But Nick, things are quick, and you got to come back sooner. I'll come on your show if you want. You got to come down to Austin. You're dead on. You've been totally vindicated. My respect level wouldn't be even higher. Here is the former Israeli prime minister, total Rothschild operative,
Naftali Bennett,
just days ago saying,
Turkey.
When we're done with Iran, Turkey, who has the biggest army in Europe, this just shows the Israel project. Like I said, I told people Saturday, I said, it's the next country, and we're supposed to now go to war with Turkey. I mean, this is bullshit. Play that, and then go to the clip of, I want to get your take. I hear you talked about it in your show. I saw you. But Huckabee going, yeah, Israel could take it all. I mean, and half the countries are allies of Israel. This is like, yeah, I love my neighbor. He's my friend. I'm going to eat him next week. Here's the clips.
A new Turkish threat is emerging. I want to be very clear. Turkey and Qatar have gained influence in Syria, are seeking influence elsewhere and everywhere throughout the region. And from here, I warn, Turkey is the new Iran.
People in the room like
Erdogan is sophisticated, dangerous, and he seeks to encircle Israel. And while some senior Israelis were on Qatar's payroll, Qatar and Turkey are nourishing
with Turkey to overthrow
the
Syria
Islamic
last year.
Brotherhood monster that is growing and eventually might become as dangerous as the one created by Iran. Turkey and Qatar are gaining influence not only in Syria, but also in Gaza, through the front door.
If Israel just stopped now.
And everywhere, and trying to create a
They've
new
won. They can be successful. They're not going to stop.
Turkey is trying to flip Saudi Arabia against us and establish a hostile Sunni axis with nuclear Pakistan.
You've appealed to Genesis. Genesis 15 says it's Abram, it's pre-Abraham, it's Abram, receives from God the news that his descendants will inherit the land. And you tell me as the theologian if I'm getting this wrong, but from the Euphrates to the Nile. I think that's right. And that would include like basically the entire Middle East. That would be the Levant. So that would be Israel, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon. It would also be big parts of Saudi Arabia and Iraq. It would be, I mean,
I'm not sure it would go that far. I mean, it would be a big piece of land, but here's the point.
It would be a lot of places that are now
I love how you roped him in. Well, we'll just take most of it.
Area that we're talking about now,
fuck this.
Israel is a land that God gave through Abraham to a people that he chose. It was a people, a place, and a purpose. We can look at it that way. Christian Zionism, I want to go back because that's where we started.
I'm not going to let you off on this because you have said it 3 times that God gave this land to this people. And so it is entirely fair for me with respect to ask, what land are you talking about? Because I just read Genesis 15, as I have many times. And that land, I think it says, from the Nile to the Euphrates, which is, once again, basically the entire Middle East. So God gave that land to his people, the Jews, or he didn't. You're saying he did. What does that mean? Does Israel have the right to that land? Because you're appealing to Genesis.
Yeah.
You're saying that's the original deed.
It would be fine if they took it all.
Play that again. Back it up 10 seconds. So here's the deal. I can do the math. I can talk for 10 hours on this. They attacked Saudi Arabia, Jordan, all these places. I mean, we already had Obama put Muslim radicals in to take over Egypt. I mean, this is cuckoo town. Play it again. He's like, yeah, they can take it all. They will take it all. And we're supposed to be the muscle for this, folks. Here it is.
Because you're appealing to Genesis.
Yeah.
You're saying that's the original deed.
It would be fine if they took it all.
But you want us to do it, Nick Fuentes.
Real quick before Nick, this is where things get ugly. This is where things get ugly because Tucker already turned, all the libertarians turned, or a lot of the libertarians turned, Alex Jones turning on Trump. This is where Trump is going to, what do you think Trump's personality is going to lead him to do? To say, you know what, you guys are right. Let me fall back a little bit, or he's going to lean in even more. Oh, you think this is Israel making these decisions? All right, bet. I'll show you who's making.
That's exactly right. And it doesn't stop. And everybody thought it would stop in Iran. And now they say, well, we're going to take out Erdogan and so on. And it just goes to show that's their end game, is they want to control the entire region. They want no rivals. And that's why they took out Iraq, Syria, Iran. And now what's actually funny, in their quest to destroy Iran, they've actually rallied everybody against them. So Saudi Arabia was getting ready to join the Abraham Accords in 2023 when October 7th happened, and then that derailed the process. Now the Saudis are working with Pakistan on a mutual defense pact. They're bringing Turkey into it. There is actually an emerging axis that is literally being built.
Israel blames Iran when Saudi Arabia is clear. It's what Israel did.
Right. Oh, yeah, of course. It's always Iran. It's always, then it'll be Erdogan in Syria. And it's funny because they took out Syria. Now they're worried that Erdogan is going to fill the power vacuum that they created. So
and they worked with him tacitly to take down Assad.
Right. Exactly. So
we got 45 seconds left. Are you gonna do a show tonight?
I'll be doing a show tonight, yes.
When do I get to go on your show? I want to come on.
Soon. So we don't have. I don't have a big studio like yours. I have a small studio. I don't have enough room.
You got to start doing them.
Yeah, I know. I just like to hear myself talk more. I guess.
No, I get it. It's easy. Hey, listen, you're dead on. I want to try to figure this out. Nick Fuentes on Rumble.
Yeah, I heard Nick just big time him like, yeah, soon. That's that Hollywood talk. Like, oh yeah, we gonna link. Bro, never. Never.
Nick J. Fuentes, thank you so much. I hope you're wrong that Trump's unsalvageable, but we're about to find out. Thank you so much for being with this powerful hour and 45 minutes.
Thank you for having me.
So there y'all have it, man. Do me a favor, like on your way out, and no long outro for me. Everybody, appreciate y'all tuning in, seeing a lot of friendly faces, familiar faces, I should say, familial faces, I should say, if anything. Y'all know how we look at this. It's a family. So it's always dope to be able to have all y'all on board, be able to have a place where we can kind of just exchange some ideas. Nobody's, being super judgmental. Look, nobody knows what the answer is to all this. We can point out a lot of the problems, typically, but the answers we don't typically all. Nobody has the playbook for the perfect answer. So we just exchanging ideas. So on that note, I'm just going to hop off. No long intro. I'll see y'all. We'll be live Friday at 8 a.m. and maybe we'll be live tomorrow as well, but it won't be at 8 a.m. So we'll have the show Friday, 8 a.m. I'll see a lot of y'all soon, man. Have a good one.